everyone. I'm Julie.
And I'm Genny with a G. We're cousins and best friends
who live on opposite ends of the country, so we decided to start a podcast. Welcome to Get Funny. If you are new, as some people are, I've learned.
Yes, welcome. It's very nice.
I was thinking about the message that we got from someone last week or something. First of all, asking...
I was so annoyed.
Who... The message... listeners, and if the person who sent this message is listening, hello and welcome. No shade, but this was a very funny message to send to a podcast account where the two people who host the podcast are in every single video, and you're sending the message to say, who is that?
It was with knowing who this person is, I was so annoyed because I was like, what is wrong with you? First of all, I don't know him well, but enough to know that he should know that if you actually look at the account, it's your face and my face on all of the posts.
Right.
And the intro says two cousins. Immediately, it just says
It's right there. So, yeah, I was like, are we doing a bad job of introducing ourselves, or are people just crazy? I just thought it was funny. Also, we knew he was talking about me because the other thing that I fixed is people get real stressed out by my bookshelves. For folks who are not on video, yes. I sit in front of two shelves. And the thing about visuals is that it's an optical illusion. I have a shelf and the books sometimes are leaning, but it makes people think that the shelf is leaning. No, the shelves are not falling. It's okay. But yes, I'm Julie, and this is...
And I'm Genny with a G.
And this is...
And I don't have books behind me.
She cannot read.
Wow, that's rude.
I like to tell people that they can't read. It's just a fun thing I do.
Just a
Mind you,
thing.
I don't think I've read any of these. Some of these are like, oh, she's a screenwriter. I have like a TV writing the television drama series. Yes, why don't we?
Wow, you need a book for
Save
that.
the Cat.
Seems like you can just YouTube it.
The War of Art. Wow, she's so well
Save
read.
the Cat?
See, real screenwriters know that's a screenwriting classic book. Now, do I read these books? No. Have I purchased some of these books to have the hard copy and then immediately turned around and listened to the audio version instead because I don't want to sit and read a book like it's the fucking 1800s? Yes, I do that frequently.
Wow. It's giving influencer.
Me?
Lies on lies on lies.
Wow, I thought you were giving me a compliment. Me?
You are posing.
I did mean influence.
Buy the book.
Wait, but I read it. I just don't read the copy that I display.
Sure.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Of course, yes.
You're not. I don't think you're really getting it.
I get it. I get it. It's like when never mind. I don't do any of that. Oh. But I appreciate the honesty. So the cat gets saved, or
no,
are we not saving the cat? Is it one of those books that says like?
No, you should. In traditional film, you should save the cat at some point. I can't be clearer. That's all I can say about it. Gotcha. Genny, we're talking too much,
ma'am.
Jibber jabber.
That's all we're known for.
I know.
Jibbing and jabbing.
But let's jib and jab about something big. Cowboy Carter. Hello.
Oh my God.
We haven't talked on the mic about Cowboy Carter. We have talked about it offline, but extensively. Oh, we're different people.
Phenomenal.
We're different people.
We are. But we're the same at the same time.
We're the same. We're different people, but we're like more of ourselves than we've ever been. You know what I mean?
Right. And my favorite question I asked, and I've been asking this question for the last, what is it? It's been 11 days now? Maybe much. 9 days. I always ask, what's your favorite?
Girl.
Because I'm expecting somebody's going to have one, which is so stupid because I don't have one. Every time I start, I always say, daughter. Oh, but I really like flamenco. But I can't not listen to My Rose. But if I gotta do Tyrant. I really like Two Hands to Heaven. But I mean, how can you not like Yaya? Wait, Jolene, of course. Like, this is literally, I know the whole album.
Yeah, I don't have a favorite, but it's so funny to me. This is like a good little test because the ones that you say immediately are not the ones I say immediately. Like when someone's like, what's your favorite? I would never start with Daughter, even though all the songs on the album are my favorite. Daughter is not the one that I start with. I just love them all, but I definitely am like, okay, Blackbird, Just for Fun. People,
Oh my God, Blackbird. Oh my God, how can I
people
not?
are sleeping on Just for Fun, and that's how I know that we as a society are lost. Because how are you telling me that you're skipping Just for Fun? Have you never gone through anything in your life?
can't.
That Just for Fun is more for my depression girlies, and like I feel that. Like Just for Fun is for the SSRI hive, the pharmaceutical intervention hive. Yes, that's Just for Fun for me personally as a member of that hive. I just it's so
They're all
beautiful. And then
It's all beautiful. And the way the thing is though,
yes.
this is when I get my little thing.
Okay.
When somebody has the audacity to say that they just skipped songs, they didn't play it in order. I'm like, okay, in what world do you just get a new album and not playing in order? And in what world does that world have Beyonce in it and you're going to do that? Like, you have to listen to it in order so you can hear the transitions to she's been doing this. And you know, a lot of people don't even talk about it, but they've been doing this since Writings on the Wall. Mm-hmm. Okay. You've got to listen to all of it because the intros are at the end of the other song so that you can get the next song.
Yes. Yes.
How do you not? Every single one seamless.
When I was listening to it the first time through, I was tempted to skip the songs that we already knew only because I was like, I already know this song, but I want to hear the rest. But I didn't. I like listened through it the whole way through as God, Beyonce intended. And then I was like on Twitter as people were like live tweeting about it, and some people were like too far ahead. I was like, you skipped 16 carriages and you skipped Texas Hold'em. You ain't slick. I know you skipped them. But I even now when I listen to the album, I'm like, should I skip? No, but like it sounds like listening to 16 Carriages right after Blackbird is like like it is an experience. And
it is an experience.
And then listening to Protector right after 16 Carriages
oh my God. When that little voice comes,
tears.
Play my lullaby.
Tears. I can't. There's all of the songs just go into.
And then Amen. I don't think we talk about enough of that song. Because the way that it ends, and it brings you back, the loop back to American Requiem. Like, c'est magnifique, as they say in French. And it's just,
it's beautiful. It's so
and
good.
It's wild to me when people want to hate on it.
I know.
Because I just like, the best thing I can always think of is, those who are hating on you are never at your same level. And these haters will never be on Beyonce level. And then the conversation about her getting a album of the year, I don't even want her to go for it. Like, she should just be like, don't give me no awards because I know it has all the awards. Yeah. Like, give her a fucking Oscar for this.
I desperately want her to not submit it for album of the year.
I just hope if the visuals come out, that it is a featured film so that she can win the Oscar. Like, I want her to do something that's so out of pocket so that she can get EGOT. Yeah, EGOT immediately. Like, she deserves. Oh my God, imagine if she, with Daughter, you know how she's singing that opera. Get her on the fucking stage. Ooh. Just go on the stage and make a whole
Carmen the hip opera?
Hello. Let's get her a Tony. The thing is, I want for Beyonce certified everything. Like, she's certifiable and she's verifiable. But I just want it to be clear that she left no crumbs for these mediocre artists. And y'all know who I'm talking about immediately.
Oop. I mean, I don't even care when people are like, hey, the album's not for me. I'm like, that's fine. Not everything is for everyone. That is not something that I will ever argue. Absolutely. People are entitled to their own opinion. Whatever. It's when people are just like, it's not interesting or it was boring. I'm like, you're boring. Right. Shut up. Just say boring. It's not for you. Don't try to be
you go to sleep at 9:02. Shut up.
That was specific. It's just like,
it's very specific. That's how boring they are.
They don't have to. It's one thing to say it's not for me. It's not the kind of music I listen to. Like, I was talking to a friend recently who was like, Renaissance wasn't really for me. I prefer this album. Like, that's okay, fine. Right. I don't agree, but like, you're not coming at it from a place of like, she's not talented or whatever. Because then I know you're full of
Right.
shit. Like, then
Then
you're just being
That's
petty.
the problem.
You just don't like her, and then I can't take anything you say seriously because you're just letting your like personal feelings about someone influence how you think about their music and their artistry, and that's what I don't like. That's what I'm like, you're annoying.
Absolutely. Because there's a lot of artists that I don't follow, and I'm not in their fandom, but they're not talented, right? Like they have some vibe, they have something. Even like DJs, like that's the one genre that I'm not in. I don't get it, but people get it, and I'm like, you know what? Kudos to you. You all get how the DJs make their stuff and how they move around each song, sure. But it's that random lady, and it's random to me because apparently she's a musician.
Sam Doll?
On
Who
TikTok.
is Sam Doll?
Yeah.
That
I
is
don't
what
know who
I'm
she
trying
is.
to learn this week. I'm like,
And
someone
so-
explain to me who Sam Doll is.
I think she's Canadian. I don't even know.
That doesn't.
But-
I'm like, who are you, and why are we listening to your opinion? I don't know you.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
And I just, my thing is, this is what I don't like about the algorithm, because there's certain things that come to me and I don't want to see it because I don't want to give them energy. So I move past it. To then have it become so viral that everybody else is making a response to it. I'm like,
Yes.
we're done with her. She's clearly wrong. Like, she said Blackbird was boring.
Yeah, it's like, again, why are you taking this person seriously?
That's-
Who is this?
Right.
And I have only seen
Who
her
are
reactions,
you?
and like, ultimately, especially nowadays, like, reactions, any sort of engagement is good for that person, even if they're getting bullied off of the
Right.
app. Like, now a person who has never heard of this bitch, now I know her and I'm Googling her because I'm like, who
Exactly.
is she? And Google's not telling me anything. I'm like, does she have a song? Is she a
she's-
musician? I don't know what she does.
I don't know. I have no idea. But I will say this. There have been a lot of people who are like, I don't like this, and so therefore it shouldn't exist. I've never said that about music. When I was younger, I was very much influenced that we said the thing, I like everything but country.
Oh.
But as I grew up, actually it was country and like rock and some other stuff. But as I've grown up,
Okay.
I find that I'm just like, if it's music, I like it. Like, if I've never heard it, I'm like, okay, I can see how people could get there.
Yeah. I mean,
It's not something I want to replay all the time, but that's fine. I just like music. Even the one, I heard a song once that I accidentally asked Alexis, I guess, to do something for me, and she did not listen to me. Like, imagine if you asked for Mark Anthony and she gave you Korn. Like, that's not what I asked for.
No.
Yes. But whatever the artist was, it was one of those scream rocks.
Uh-huh.
And I let it play because I was in the shower. So there was no really,
Sure.
couldn't get out of it. But I let it play and I was like, you know, even though it hurts my ears, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I can see why they have fans.
Yeah.
So for those people who are saying something's boring or they don't like it because it's gross, you just don't know talent and you don't know art.
No, you just
Because
think you're
when you
being
are,
yeah, they think they're being like cool or interesting by going against something that so many people love. And I'm like, that doesn't make you cool. That doesn't make you fun. Like, congratulations, I guess. And like, you could have just said nothing and that would have been fine. No one was clamoring for your opinion.
right. Turns out. But I love it. I've been listening to it
No.
literally nonstop in the car.
Same. Can I, like, in the car, in the shower, in the kitchen, and just every moment of my life?
Cleaning up.
I was playing it the other day when I was cooking dinner, and I just want to say, Richard listens to this, so he'll hear it. I heard him. He was like singing along to the songs, and mind you, I'm mostly listening to it in the car by myself or on my headphones. But he's been listening to it while he's at work, but I didn't know how much he was listening to it, but enough to know the songs, girl, but not the singles. And I was like, okay, good for you.
I love that.
It was really cute.
See, it's wonderful to see a couple being able to share in a shared interest.
Yes.
I was in the car. We were going to karaoke the other night, and I obviously was playing it. And the folks in my car hadn't heard it, and I was like, "Well, clearly you're my ops." Or whatever. But as I was listening to it and I was singing along, they're like, "When did this come out?" I was like, "On Friday." They're like, "And you know the words already?" I'm like,
Yes.
It's Tuesday. What do you mean? I learned the words on Sunday. What are we talking about? Okay, y'all. So, Seat on Screen this week is going to be a movie that I thought we already did. And why that's important to know is because it's giving plot of movie. On last Monday, I just got inspired. I don't know. I was like, you know what? We need more engagement on our Instagram. So I'm going to be that person who engages our audience. So I did a tell us what your favorite movie is, which, by the way, is something I keep doing. And I need to get better content because you've already told us multiple times what your favorite movie is. And I apologize. So
it's giving memory loss.
As they're going through it. Right, it's giving memory loss. So what I would do is when people would respond, I would then respond with either a video or a picture of if we did it, like I would show a picture of our previous episode and then link it to something, or just a random picture, whatever. And 51st Dates keeps coming up. And at that point, I wasn't looking at all the things, but I was like, we've already done it, so y'all can find it. We've already done it, so y'all can find it. And then Julie texts me. She goes, so we've never done 51st Dates. I was like, wait, what you mean? Because I distinctly remember us talking about how, it's weird that he's with somebody who has memory loss, and is that really like consensual? And she was like, no, we've never done it. I was like, well, what you mean? Mm-hmm. So as I cannot remember, even though I remember a distinct conversation we've had, we decided to do 51st Dates. So then that was discussed on Wednesday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. So then on Friday or Saturday, Julie says, when are we recording? I was like, oh, I don't know. But what movie are we doing? She goes, how did you forget again? I'm like, I cannot recall this movie.
I said, not and you reenacting the movie we already decided to do. What are you saying?
And then even more, to add more to this theme of what the hell's going on with me in this movie. So I decided, because I said, I don't need to watch it because I know this movie. Because I've seen this movie a lot. But I was just home yesterday and I was like, let me just see where they're playing it. I'm in. So they have it on FX and I started watching it and I forgot to finish it.
Oh.
I was like, what is wrong with me? This is really giving. It's because I'm really good with memory.
You
but
are.
Apparently not when it comes to
I was so confused because when I saw that TikTok, nope, not TikTok. When I saw that Instagram where you were like, 51st Dates. Oh, yeah, we did an episode on that one. I was like, we did? I don't think so. And then I pulled up the podcast app and was like, I don't see it. What is she talking about? Like, I did not think we did this movie. And you're saying you think we talked about it, and I agree. And so I haven't gone back to listen to it, but our Wedding Singer episode, we may have talked about 51st Dates briefly because the leads are the same leads, Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. But I didn't think we ever did an episode about it. And then as I was watching the movie, I was like, I have not seen this movie in 20 years. Like, I did not remember any of it. I didn't remember how it ended. In fact, I thought it ended a different way, and I would love to talk about that.
Oh, wow. Okay, screenwriter, changing it up.
No, I just thought it had a better ending. I don't know. One thing I have always said about this movie, and I may have said this in the last alleged conversation that we had about it, is that all I remember is that I've only seen this movie once, and I remember in my brain specifically never rewatching it because at the time, this movie made me incredibly sad. Like, so deeply sad that, like, I just felt like, I don't know. Like, I just remember watching this movie and, like, crying all the time. And now, I know. And now I rewatched the movie this morning, so it's fresh in my brain. And as I was watching it, I was like, now, girl, what were you going through 20 years ago that this movie made you cry so much? Because, like, it's not that sad. At least
I was like, it's not really sad.
Like, I'm in an emotional state right now because I'm on my period. And so this is the time during which presumably I would cry more. But I did tear up a little bit in watching it this morning, but I wasn't like sobbing the way my memory has me remembering it in 2004. So
I don't know. Us in this movie
what's
is a
going
weird
on?
memory trick.
I really was like, I can't watch 50 First Dates. That movie's so sad. But it's really not. I mean, if you think about it, and maybe this is what I was doing in 2004, if you think about it too much, it is incredibly sad. For those who haven't seen it, y'all, it's literally a movie where
it is.
Drew Barrymore has a traumatic brain injury and has no short-term memory. So she remembers like everything from before her accident, and now she literally, it's like a Groundhog Day situation. She has to live the same day over and over. Like, she doesn't remember anything.
Which is, it's super challenging. And I remember that there was an inspirational story affiliated with it. So I looked that one up too. And it's just so bizarre how the brain works. But in this movie, well, we could just start talking about it. In the movie, now this is what I didn't remember. I didn't remember the first part of the movie where he was like some kind of Hawaiian heartthrob.
Gigolo?
Like, yeah, vacation gigolo. It was weird.
Let's just say this movie. So it's an Adam Sandler movie. Let's just say this: The Wedding Singer is probably the best version of Adam Sandler doing a rom-com. I just said rom-com. Rom-com. This movie unfortunately gives all the problematic things that you might expect from like a movie about white people on Hawaii. Like, it's not, and Rob Schneider features heavily in this movie. So like, let's just say those things I don't think aged well, nor do I think they were appropriate at the time in 2004, but it was somehow more acceptable. So yeah, he's a womanizer, as you're saying.
He's a womanizer at the beginning, and it's just very strange, but specifically a womanizer to visitors to the island, because he doesn't want long-term any connection with them, and he's just a liar at the end, and all the lies are just really just hurtful to a lot of people who are like, with this guy, he's like, I'm married, I'm deaf, I'm mute. I'm like, wait, hold on, what does that have anything to do with it? And then he falls, he sees Lucy, who is Drew Barrymore's character, at a restaurant that morning. They hit it off and they have a good time, and she even says, you know, can we have breakfast again tomorrow? You know, innocently enough. And he's really excited. This is like the first time he gets excited about something. And he's talking to a friend who's Ula, Rob Schneider's character, who has like 5 kids or something. And they're all super talented. And he's super mean to his wife. It's really weird. Terrible. The movie is that part. But Adam Sandler's character, Harry, is like, I don't know if I can fall for a local. Like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to do the work at the aquarium and then do my research in Alaska in a big old yacht for whatever amount of time. But he then goes back the next day and he tries to be cute with Lucy again. But then she freaks out, like, who the hell are you? Because she doesn't have memory. So he is weirded out by it. The people who work there are trying to tell him, like, you know, leave her alone. Like, it's her life. Just leave her alone. Don't get involved. Then they show us a glimpse of her life when she gets home. And it is, I personally do think that this is like a dad's reaction to something. Like, you could tell that the mom was not around for this because the mom's gone, but it just seems like a thing that a dad would be like, okay, let's just buy millions of copies of newspapers that say the same date. And a bajillion pineapples, because she was trying to go get a pineapple when she was involved in this car crash. It was also his birthday. So every day he has a birthday cake, and every day they watch the same football game. And I'm just like, in what world would you all think that that was going to be sustainable? Like,
you're right. I never thought about the fact that that's like a dad thing, but it definitely is giving like, okay, I am not going to, like, even though doing this thing is hard and possibly unsustainable for regular life, it is able, like, I'm able to sort of keep things peaceful enough that I don't have to worry about her anymore. Like, we'll just do this until we die, which is like not a logical thing at all. Like, we're going to watch The Sixth Sense every day until we die. That's not, why wouldn't you try something else or like see a specialist or something? I don't understand. understand.
And it's that, like, and I get it. I mean, I'm not a caretaker to somebody who has a traumatic brain injury. I get it. But also, you can't get better if you're not even doing something that could get you there, even if that is the destiny, right? We don't know that you could get better.
Right.
Some things are permanent damage, but you can't sustain that, because what happens? Something happens to you, and that's the question that Harry asked. So
I think his name is Henry.
No, I thought it was Harry. No, it is Harry, because they said that his name was Harry Roth, and then one of the women, because I watched it 3 times today. I also couldn't fast forward when I had to rewatch it. The lady who's I guess the not beautiful lady, they say Harry Paratesticles as his name. So anyway,
yeah, but I think there were
that Harry.
Several of them were saying it's Henry Roth, and then they said Harry pair of testicles. His name is Henry, according to the Wikipedia. Girl, what do you want me to say? Harry can be a nickname for Henry, but they call him Henry.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
They call him Henry throughout the movie.
Okay.
His name is Henry.
Harry
Roth.
Harry. He ends up wanting to see her the next day, even finding out that she has this traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
He then goes every day, and then the dad's like, oh, she gets a ticket. She gets a ticket one day that he's trying his technique. And then that's when she's like, it's not, which again, details, my friends. What do you mean you're not looking at her registration for her car? The officer is like, which also, officers, who just gives a ticket when you're not even driving?
Punk ass police, that's who.
That was ridiculous. So the cop is like, your tags are expired. She's like, no, it's not. It's October. When she looks at the calendar, it's not October. So she freaks out. Yeah. Henry goes with them to try to figure out what's the deal. And that's when they tell her, this is what's happened. And wait, at some point in before this too, the dad told Henry to leave her alone.
Yes, he said don't.
And so he don't talk to her.
Don't go to that restaurant again, basically.
Don't go to that restaurant. Yeah. So he's like, I'm not going to go to the restaurant. So he ends up meeting her on the road on the way. And like he made scenarios every day so that they can talk every day. And then the dad is like, come to the house. And then he's like, he sees her painting. And he says, every time she meets you, she sings this song. Mm-hmm. So he's like, okay, I can start seeing her. So he starts seeing her. But then when she has this bad day, so Henry devises a plan that if she, to avoid having bad days, she would just know everything every day.
Yeah. So instead of recreating,
which I do think is pretty good.
Instead of her dad's plan of literally doing the same thing for her every day, like literally all day, and pretending it's still October or something, they are just going to make a video for her that she's going to watch every morning. And it's going to give her basically the whole history, the whole backstory of what's happening today. Like, this is what's going on. You're dating me, etc. You got an accident, blah, blah, blah.
Which I think is a good idea. Yeah. The dad was not really into it at the beginning, but then they seem to like it. They're like, this works. This is working out for us. And all of it works out for a while. They like hung out, they were kissing, and every day she was like, oh, it's so good to have my first kiss or whatever. Until one day they finally decide to sleep together. And when she wakes up, this is the other part too. And this is just my medical, what is it? Not research. What I'm trying to say. Curiosity. Mm. Does she not take naps? And would this affect her if she did take a nap? I
was thinking about that. I didn't think about that. I feel like, did we watch a movie like that? I feel like I've seen something like that where, it's actually a book. Similar, a book where, this girl like can't die, but like everyone is destined to forget her the moment they fall asleep. So like it's kind of like almost like a reverse thing. Like she'll make all these connections with people, but she knows no matter what, once they go to sleep, it's like she's a stranger to them. But in that book, I think they did acknowledge like naps also counted. So it was like, you can't take a nap either. Yeah, I don't think naps count here. I view it as just like a 24-hour period. I don't know how her brain knows that.
I don't know.
I don't
That's
know.
my other question. How do brains know?
Like, what if she doesn't fall asleep at all?
Right. But then
Because she's, yeah, no.
that reverse it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I often think about that in this movie. But anyways, all this to say that after they hung out, she wakes up in the bed with him and obviously freaks out.
Yes.
She starts watching the video as he's talking to her brother and her dad. And as they're trying to, and they called the doctor was like, let her watch the video, let her get back to understand what's happening. And she overhears Henry talking about his big plan that he actually doesn't want to do anymore because he doesn't want to mess things up for her, which I thought was very sweet.
His plan being he wants to go on this boat expedition to Alaska to study walruses.
Yes, because that's his work.
Yeah.
And so she overhears him, and then she's like, that same day, she's like, I want to erase you. I don't want you to make plans for me. This is permanent for me.
Yeah.
So she wants to break up with him, and she's like, I don't want to hold you back,
yes.
which is also very touching and very sweet.
It is. It's love. It's very sweet. She's like, I'm holding you back. You're not living your dreams because of me, and so we have to erase you from my life.
Yeah. So it's really sad, and he does it reluctantly. He helps her erase, because she was taking notes in a journal every time she watched the video, which is good for her to remember to take notes.
I was when she was like, I keep a journal also, I'm like, why were you doing that already? Like, why? I don't understand.
Right, because again,
why was nobody encouraging you to do that?
Right. It's like even the
doctor never told you to keep a journal? It's weird.
So anyways, he gets on his boat. He's about to get on his boat, and then he's told that she is now at a facility teaching art, which is really nice for him wanting to go over there. And I just love it too. I love that part because she is like, oh, I've seen you before. Mm-hmm. And she's been painting him, which I also think is another part. Like, these folks who, again, if you're doing enough research to find out that these things can exist, why not do the full research on how you can help people in situations like this?
I haven't read the science on any of this, but I thought it was really interesting. And obviously, guys, it's a movie, it's a rom-com, whatever. Like, as a rom-com, I will say, I thought this movie it's a cute romance if you don't think about it too much. But as far as like the memory of it all, like, her dad had said she only sings the song, it's the Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice, mm-hmm. the days after she meets you, right? Like,
yes.
Or the days after you have like an interaction. Because she paints this room every morning and she's only singing this song after. So that means that there's something there. Like, there's some sort of memory forming that's saying, I had a good day yesterday or something. Or like, right. I feel hopeful about love. Because that was the song that was her parents' song or whatever. So there's something forming there. And then there's also something forming so that every day that she paints, first of all, she's an incredible artist, apparently. Right. She has an entire creepy studio of all of the various different kinds of artwork she's done where she's constantly painting Henry's face, including one, which is very funny, where she paints an egg, a man with an egg for a head, because they make a joke that he's got an egg head. So I'm not a doctor, but I feel like if this is happening, I feel like we could do more work to get the memory, like you're forming some sort of memories. Let's do something with that. And I thought the version of the movie that I made for myself in my brain was that they did do that. And they were, because she's clearly forming some sort of attachment to this man, that they're able to recover her memory somehow or something like that. That's not what happens in the movie. In this part, it turns out happy, right? Let's just be real. Like, the ending is happy. And if you haven't seen the ending, spoiler, I guess. But yes, they end up on the boat. The next scene you see is her watching the video, and the video continues on with the ending of her being married to him. So there's a video of them getting married.
again getting married and pregnant?
We don't see that. I don't think we see that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we see
it's a
that.
surprise for her and for us that she's actually on a boat. Like, she wakes up and we think we think she's in her bedroom, and the video is like, come join us for breakfast when you're up or whatever. And then she gets up and they're like, it's cold outside in the video. Like, it's cold, put a jacket on and come meet us. And then instead of going outside, quote unquote, she goes up onto the deck of this boat. Turns out they're in Alaska area or something, doing that. And she sees Henry, and he's like, hey, come meet your daughter. And so she meets a child who's at least 3, 4. I don't know how old she is.
Yeah, right. Like, she's more than a baby.
She's a toddler, more than a toddler even. She's a full-on child. And then what's her face? Lucy's like, oh my God. And then that's it. And that's the movie. And that's crazy. That part, I feel
that
like
is crazy.
That is crazy. I somehow would have been okay even with them getting married and whatever, and her having to wake up every day and do that. The addition of a child turns us into like, I have to pretend that's part of a different movie. I don't like it. I think that's crazy.
And then, like, again,
it brings up a lot of questions.
While she was pregnant,
right.
And then
was she pregnant? Did she give birth to a child? Because that's crazy.
Right.
Like, every day she woke up pregnant.
And then you're gonna wake up when you do have the baby.
Imagine,
for nursing reasons, you go to sleep every 2 hours. Like, I just feel like there's so many logistical things, and not to say again that these things can't happen. I want to be clear about that, because I don't want to live in a world that this is impossible.
Right.
That could happen, but I just think that there needs to be a little bit more explanation. Just here's a video and boom, here's a child.
That's why I just felt like the movie could have done without that. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like this movie in particular, like this couple, I didn't feel like, oh, they are a couple that needs to have kids right now and we need to see that. Otherwise, we're not going to believe that they're happily ever after. Like, it just feels like a lazy sort of end of a story that didn't need that and could have ended beautifully in a different way. Whereas the way it ends just brings up all these questions where I'm like, so was she pregnant? Did she carry this child? That's a crazy thing to, like, put on a child.
And again,
like,
yes, like, for the child too, like, Mommy, you were mad at me yesterday. Because, like, I'm gonna tell you why you were mad.
Like, Adam Sandler, Henry opted into this life. A child is not opting in. And I'm not saying, obviously, people have children and then have traumatic brain injuries or, Alzheimer's or whatever. Of course that happens, but that's something that just happens in life. But to make the choice for someone who can't make that choice is crazy. Like, you could have chosen not to have a child, and instead you did, and that brings into question so many things.
You usually say this, I have to suspend reality for this, but it's like, you really got to believe that nothing is real, because how did this happen? But it is, I know it, according to our Instagram followers, it is a very big favorite. But as I watch it again, as someone who's older, and I've always asked these questions, but it's just weird. I don't know.
And yet still saying that, like, I hear it. I know it's crazy. I think it's a cute movie. Like, there's so much wrong with it. There's so much, like, dumb, like, gross humor. Let's not even, like, there's a lot of, like sort of, like, misogynistic, like, anti-trans humor. Like, just, like, a lot of, like, gender humor that's gross. And still, I think, and maybe it's just Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore together are cute. Like, they're not individuals that I really seek out on their own, but in The Wedding Singer and now here, they have a chemistry that works. And I do think there is something incredibly romantic about this man who, as the beginning of the movie sets up, is a womanizer. All he wants is for a fling with someone who is leaving. He wants nothing long term. That's the opposite. And then he falls for a woman who literally can't have anything long term. And that's all he wants with her. And that's all he tries to do. Like, that's beautiful. I think that's romantic. I think it's cute. There's just a lot of, like, questions that come up that I'm like, what are we doing here? But I think it's cute. I don't know.
I guess I guess some people do. It's just weird.
It's so interesting that like this is a movie where I'm like, I guess I could watch this again. You who watch any movie all the time, constantly, you're like, I will never watch this again.
Yeah,
I probably could watch this again, and maybe we'll turn it off before she has a child. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just too much, but we did it. So
we did it, and now you can confidently tell our listeners we have done an episode on 51st Dates.
Yes. There we go.
What if my memory is messed up and we actually did do it and somehow I can't find it?
Oh
and
my God.
Wouldn't that be a laugh? Do you want an Am I the Asshole? I didn't know because sometimes we just talk about random internet stuff and I didn't know if you wanted to talk about J-Lo. What's happening with J-Lo? No, it's fine.
Oh my God. We can't talk about J-Lo. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold the phone.
Okay, I'm not plugged into the J-Lo controversies. I don't know what is going on with her.
I don't even know how I got on it. But to start it off, as we know, a couple of weeks back, we discussed that she had a brand new film that really was a musical video for her song. That's not a musical video, but it is. So after she released that, she released a documentary talking about the movie that she was making. In the documentary, a couple of things came to play that most people are like, what is wrong with her? One being this book that Ben created for her, holding all the love letters and text messages that they've sent each other back 20 years ago, and then also while they were rekindling their love.
I don't know anything about this.
So oh my
I don't
God.
know anything.
Yes. So this is one of the biggest things. So in the movie, in the documentary, she brings out the book. And it's like, imagine, just like a folder of all this stuff. And on it says, the greatest love story never told. So he wrote it. And then he was like, wait, you showed them? He had no idea that she showed her producers and writers and all these people, or the team. I don't even know what their titles are. This book. And they nicknamed him Pen Affleck because he's writing so much stuff. And he's like, they do an interview with him and he's like, like 20 years ago, when we were together, I did not like all this stuff. I didn't like the attention, the social media. And he's like, but now, that's like me asking an artist not to do art. Like, this is what she does. So where I wouldn't have told this story because it's called The Greatest Story Never Told, it seems like you're telling it. I'm like, oh my God. Then another part of the documentary that has gotten people in coming for her throat. She is exercising.
Okay.
And then she sits on a bench and her hair is disheveled. And she's looking and she's like, oh, when I see myself like this with all my messy hair, it just reminds me of running up and down the block when I was 16 in the Bronx. Everybody's like, why do you keep doing this? You did not do that. So then a ton of people, some folks who went to the same high school that she did, some people who were classmates with her were like, you did it. You weren't running up down any block. We went to Catholic school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood. Our neighborhood was safe. This is not, what are you saying? At the same time, this is all happening real time. A video of her 73 questions with Vogue resurfaces. Okay. In which she says, the question was, what's your go-to order at the bodega? Yes. And she says, ham and cheese on a roll with an orange drink, if you know, and a small bag of chips. And almost every single person is like, what? I'm from New York. I don't know. What are you talking about? What's this orange drink? Is it a Fanta? Is it a Sunny D? Was it one of the quarter water, juices? Yeah. Nobody knows.
I have seen that claim. I didn't know it was not from the documentary. Yes. I thought it was from the same thing.
That's not from the documentary. Okay. So all of that combined, folks from the Bronx are like, stop using us for clout because you don't give back to the Bronx. The Block is like, why are you doing this? She also then, on top of all this, her concert was supposed to be This Is Me Now. That's the concert. But has now remarketed it as This Is Me Live to play her greatest hits because the album's not doing well, ticket sales aren't doing well, and she had to cancel 7 shows before the tour even started. So J-Lo's in a lot of hot water. And you know, I know the listeners are out there. Jenny, where do you stand with J Lo?
Oh.
And I'm gonna stand beside her. My thing is, we all knew this. Like, my thing is, no one has ever said that she is a great singer.
No.
She is a performer. She is somebody who is going to do it regardless. So, and then there was somebody who, I think they said it better. So wherever TikTok this lands, the person says you have to have a certain type of a delusion to want to be in this industry, right? Like, it's not for everybody, and J-Lo is showing you that you have to reach that, because if that's what you want, you have to believe that you could get there eventually. So at the end of the day, was it great for her to release this album? No, I'm not her manager, but I do think that there's some things that just don't make sense. And then on top of that, the fact is that this is me then. No, this
is me
this
now.
is me then.
Oh.
No, the first one.
Okay.
The first one. This is me then. Wasn't even her greatest album. So I'm like, girl, why do you want to keep trying to replicate that one? Like, that's not.
I feel like she's like obsessed with that title in a way that, like, I'm like, did you come up with that? And you're like, this was so good, I have to just use it. Like, girl, it's not good.
I'm gonna use then, now, and
then,
now,
and then that's
like,
gonna be the then, but it's actually now, and then everyone's gonna be like, what? That's crazy, girl. Yeah, no, stop.
I do think that's because my thing is, she could have done a greatest hit tour from the beginning. Like, it didn't have to be this. You don't have to release a new album.
I mean,
because she had a tour a couple of years ago in 2018.
She had a residency in Vegas. Like, she could just do that again. Which, by the way, I went to that residency performance.
Was it amazing?
No, it wasn't. It was fun because I was with my friends for my friend's bachelorette. But we were like, it's J-Lo. Like, we weren't expecting her to sing. Honestly, the most, like, oh, she is really like bought into the Delulu. Was to close out the show. I may have told this story before. I'm not sure if I told it on the podcast. She is like, this is a song that's so important to me as a mother, and I sing it to my daughter like every night or whatever. And we're like, what could it be? And it is I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack. And she sings that song. And I don't think anybody was like, I am waiting to hear Jennifer Lopez sing I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack. So yeah, sometimes my friends and I will just text each other like, hey, remember when J-Lo sang I Hope You Dance? But I know you're standing beside her. And that's fine. People are unearthing things from the past that they're like, how did we not know? First of all, I'm like, who was in 2024 thinking J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, was a well-adjusted person? That's no one has ever thought that. And so the fact that people are surprised by this is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I didn't see this when it happened, but this is so cringe. Specifically, that Actors Roundtable that I sent you clips of. Did you watch that?
Yes,
that was.
I did. It is so cringe.
Unhinged. Like,
but remember, she believed she was going to get an Oscar for Hustlers. Like, she believed
she did,
it.
and that is fine. I watched Hustlers. I think she had a great performance in that movie, and she should have been nominated, sure. But it's the fact that, so listeners, this is an Actors Roundtable that they did in the lead up to Oscar season that year, or award season, where they had all of the like sort of contenders for Best Actress doing a talk about like art and the craft of acting and whatever. And so we have Jennifer Lopez, and then there's Laura Dern, Laura Dern, Scarlett Johansson, Lupita Nyong'o, Renee Zellweger. Who else was on there? I don't remember who else was on there, but maybe a few other people. And it's just like a bunch of actors who are very serious about acting, and they'll be talking, and they're, first of all actors are like self-absorbed. That's just acting in general. But the talented ones are able to make themselves not appear to be as self-absorbed. So like in this sort of roundtable, they're, you know, asking Renee Zellweger how she got into the role, and like talking to Laura Dern, and they're all giving props to the ladies around them and talking about like what it's like to be in character and blah blah blah. And what's her name? J-Lo.
Jennifer.
J-Lo jumps
Jennifer?
in. Jennifer Lynn Lopez jumps in and is just constantly like, even though it wasn't about her and nobody is asking her a direct question, she'll just jump in and present a really long anecdote for no reason that no one is asking for. And everyone's like you can see on their faces, they're like, not this bitch again. Like, why are you jumping in? This was in probably like, what, 2019? I don't remember when Hustlers came out. But
I think it was 2019.
Around
it was right
there.
Before
it was around there. She's
stuff,
jumping in, talking about things that happened when she was playing Selena in 1997. Girl, as if like these established award-winning actresses care how you felt playing Selena in one of your first movie roles ever. Like, but you can tell she's never...
No, but the funniest part too, I think, is when she goes on and on about the fear and the talent of taking off her clothes to do the stripping performances.
Yes.
But it's like, but J-Lo, you typically are in a bikini. Like, this is not... What are you...
She is just one of those people who thinks everything she says is so deep, and she just doesn't hear herself talking, and she's never had to interrogate that, and that part just makes me sad because I'm like, how old are you? 50? I don't know how old she is. Like,
yeah, she's 54.
She's 54, and you have all this access and all this privilege, and you've never wanted to think and I said this before, she thinks she's deep, but she's not deep, and she never clearly doesn't want to be deep, but she wants to think she's deep, and she wants people to think she's deep without actually doing any work to be deep.
She's like,
please just stop talking.
She's like those men who always think that they are motivational speakers. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just an Atlanta thing that I'm so used to these men that like literally are like, if you want success, you need to bust your balls. And when you bust your balls, you can be like me. And look, I have a very expensive car. Then you look at the video, you're like, it looks like you rented that car, bro.
Yeah. J-Lo
it looks like you only
is
she's 54.
a stereotypical man with a podcast.
Absolutely.
Well, that happened on the internet. If you want an Am I the Asshole, we can read one. Oh, okay. I didn't know. You were saying
yeah. Because like, I'm looking at the time. I'm like,
the time is timing, and I am hungry. So
let's just keep moving. We've talked about the internet enough.
We have.
All right.
What, Jenny, my dear, has brought you joy, and or what are you looking forward to?
I am... So many things bring me joy.
Okay, well, pick one, damn it. Or two.
Just think you took the joy away from me. I'm very excited for...
Your gala?
Sometimes... Yeah, I was gonna be like, should I talk about that? Because sometimes I feel
talk about your gala, girl.
Like,
I'm gonna tell you what to talk about. Talk about your gala.
I have a gala on Friday evening. I am a recipient of the class of 2024 under 40 Georgia First Generation. And I mean, all awards are great. And this is just really nice because it's like the idea of being a part of a first generation movement, which, you know, it doesn't mean you have to be an immigrant, y'all. It's just the idea of like first generation, like, I am the first in my generation to do a lot of stuff, and this is really exciting to be chosen among about 9 of us are going to be receiving an award on Friday. So I'm like, this is cool. And I love to dress up. You know, I love a gala.
Yes.
So I'm going to dress up and do like a get ready with me. My friend's like, you need to do more reels about your fashion, which I could be that girly, but I don't want to. I feel like it's a lot of work, and I just like clothes. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But yeah, I'm very excited.
For your
Thank you.
Gala. But you can talk about something else. I was like, you have to talk about this.
You forced me to talk about that.
Did.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I am very much looking forward to that, and it also brought me joy. So I'm into it. What about you? What has brought you joy, and or what are you looking forward to?
Cowboy Carter has brought me joy, but we all know that, of course. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was the anniversary of Richard and my first date.
Oh.
15 years, our 15-year anniversary.
Wow.
Which is like a crazy. Our relationship can almost vote. Like, shut up, get out. we weren't making plans for our anniversary because we're currently, I think as I've mentioned, we're planning a trip to Mexico, that is going to be, we like to combine things because we don't celebrate things every year. Who has the time or money for that? So this is like our combined birthday trips / anniversary, big anniversary trip. So we're going to be doing that next month. So I guess I am looking forward to that because
yes,
it hasn't happened yet. And it brought me joy to have our anniversary. So we said we weren't going to do anything, and then yesterday we were just like, hey, let's just go out. Like, not necessarily for our anniversary, just because like we wanted to get out. So we went to downtown Culver and had some drinks and some appetizers and stuff, and
that's cute.
got to sit outside, which was nice. And then some friends that we had invited out were like, hey, we're not going to make it out, but if you guys want, you can swing by and we'll make drinks here. I was like, sure. So we like went to our friend's house and hung out with them.
That was not the, I didn't think that was going to be the expected. Okay.
It was,
I don't want to go out, but y'all can come over.
It was surprising, but also I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. Because going out requires like spending money. And if you got stuff at the house, it's like, sure. And our friend is like very into making like fancy cocktails and stuff. So he was like, we're going to make whatever you want. Like he gave us like a printed menu. It was very cute.
Wow.
I'm not sure if he'll ever listen to this, but if he does, hello, you know who I'm talking to. He is a person who every time I see him is like, how's your podcast? I'm like, it's good. He's like, yeah, you're still doing that? I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, okay, good. Because every time you talk to me, I feel like, you know what, Jalissa should have a podcast. I'm like, and I do. So here we are. It's available anywhere you get your podcasts.
So he doesn't listen.
How could we be clearer? Of course not, Jenny. It's fine. I have to say this on the pod, obviously, because otherwise it doesn't count. I like your glasses.
Oh, thank you. I like yours too. You know, I have them.
I know.
What's so funny, I literally saw them. I was like, should I wear green with this today? I was like, nah, let me just do these. But yeah, these are cute.
Those new?
Like maybe January. I went to the eye doctor the other day and I was like a little nervous because you kind of change your prescription every couple of years. That's what has happened to me. I will say that. For me, it's happened. And so in 2021, when I went and got my glasses, I was like, I'm going to do better. I'm going to start wearing them. Then I ended up learning about Zelul in this time period and started buying glasses and actually liking them. Prior to this, I hated glasses. I will be honest, but I've been very good and consistent about putting on the glasses that match my outfits and all this stuff. And my doctor, as she was reviewing my stuff, she goes, keep doing what you're doing because it's working. And my prescription did not change.
Yay.
Like not even a little bit. So I'm like, this is great. My eyeballs are really healthy, she said. And I actually have to go back on tomorrow. I have to go back to get my eyes dilated because I didn't do the dilation the other day. So I was thinking, oh, wouldn't that be cool? They'll give me some of those glasses that kind of look like eclipse glasses. Then I realized I'm not going to look at the eclipse anyway because you shouldn't. And I don't think those are the same glasses.
They're not. You should not use those glasses to look at the eclipse.
Yes, but are you going to see it? Do you get to see it from your side of the world?
Only partial, I think.
Okay.
I haven't...
yeah, ours is partial.
Yeah, I haven't done much research into it, but I did hear that some places were giving out some glasses, so maybe I'll try to find some. I don't know.
My thing is, if I'm being very honest...
And please do.
I'm probably not going to walk outside during this period of time.
Okay.
I don't know why everybody's so... Is it? I think it's just me. I just don't really
do you not remember
understand.
the last one we had? And like...
Yeah, in 2017.
Yeah, whenever that was. I just remember we went to a wedding the week before and they gave us eclipse glasses at the wedding. So that was a nice little touch.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I mean, I didn't go outside then either. And you could go outside.
I did. I made a point because we were like, I was working at the doctor's office and we were right on the street. So we just all walked out and we were looking at it. That's where we get that fun picture of Trump looking directly at the eclipse.
Right. I remember that. That's what I remember.
What an idiot.
Maybe, super idiot. Maybe I'll walk outside just to see if other people are outside. But if I don't have the protected eyewear, I can't even look up.
No,
so what's the point?
You can't look up. You know what you should do is turn around.
Every now and then I get a little excited and do the beat of this. You're right. I should just play that. I'll do that.
That's such a good song. Shout out to you, Bonnie Tyler. Total Eclipse of the Heart. Okay, great. Have a good one.
You too, my love.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Get Funny.
We hope you laughed.
But if you didn't,
We did.
we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We killed it.
Crushed it.